to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You need it?
Feel like I need to throw my hat or something.
Yeah, why would we have a wheelchair in here?
Okay, everyone is present. So this is a special meeting to go over finance reports, and I reviewed finance reports yesterday and found a few things, nothing major. And I believe Sharon said she had found some stuff. Did you get a chance to review them? I'll just go ahead and let you go first.
I found an addition error in Spencer Keefer's report, expenditures.
Okay, what was that?
373.35, and it should be, he was $1 off, 372.35 is what I had.
I must have looked at that just real quick.
I found the same error.
Okay, can I see it real quick? You said it was the
It's just an,
expenditures.
yeah, it's just an adding error.
I don't question it, I just wanna see if it was, we're just questioning, but that's not. Yeah, I just looked at it real quick. Okay, so we need a motion, is there anything else on this one?
No, that's all I found.
So let's do, is everybody in agreement to just do them one at a time? Cause I don't think there's anything. So, motion to request,
Okay, yes, make a motion that Spencer Keefer be contacted and to make the corrections on this report.
I'll second that.
you know what, I'm sorry, I have something else on
Oh,
there. His expenses are not categorized either. So it should be direct expense for this. Like I said, it's just something small. And his final report, he had no income. He had no beginning balance, no donations, but he had expenses, but he showed zero. It can't possibly be zero if he had expenses.
well, the beginning is what he had cash on hand
Right.
at the beginning of the year.
So, but the final report, the end of the report says zero, but if he had expenses, it would be a negative. Am I wrong?
So he has to have I see what you're saying, so
Yeah.
he would have to have contributions in order to cover that. Yeah, I
Right.
totally missed that too.
So,
Okay,
I mean, he may have paid for those things out of his own funds, he just needs to show
right,
a contribution from himself
Yeah.
to cover the balance.
okay, so we've got no contributions, adding the expenditures, and what was the other? Oh,
Just the
and-
categorization. And again, that's just a real small thing, but it's supposed to be done.
Okay,
And I apologize if we
you wanna,
go through the motions again.
Okay, I'm amending my motion to contact Spencer Henry, to correct he needs to add the expenses, the explanation of the expenses, and also show where the money came from. Because it shows no contributions,
and the addition error?
yes, in addition.
just,
second?
yeah, I guess,
Sorry,
yes.
okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Sharon.
I noticed on Mr. Yates. On his expenditures, he's got him being the recipient of the payments instead of the entity that he's paying. He did, the one page is correct.
Hey, it showed me what you.
Yep, so here's his expenditures where he's paying for a cell phone plan, but he's paying himself. The recipient of the payment is himself. And it should be the company that he's paying.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I guess I
And
did
it's,
see
and that was on almost 2 full pages,
Yeah,
all wrong.
okay.
So, I mean, unless,
He just needs to list who he paid.
right, yeah.
Although it's a payment in kind, is that required? If it's
Well,
a-
unless he owns a yard sign stakes company, he's not paying himself.
Well, my question is, if, for instance, we're gonna use Devlo, because she's right in front of me. If Devlo bought some yard signs,
Then that would be on the contributions by individuals, which he has.
right? Oh, okay, but the expense, so, I guess what I'm getting at, if Devlo bought some signs, I'm not defending Cameron, I just wanna make sure that
Yep, that's
I
fine.
understand what's right. If Devlo bought some signs for Beth's campaign, would Beth know where Deb got the signs, or would she just get signs?
It would be under the itemized contributions,
Okay,
so it would be how this one is listed. This was an in-kind, so this person donated yard signs to Cameron.
okay. And
So
then
she
that has to
paid for
be
them.
right,
So that is the expenditure, would be,
in that expense, so in the same scenario for the expense sheet, if this was not the candidate, but anyone else that bought the signs, would the candidate know where they got the signs from? That's my question.
well, not necessarily, but it would be under a contribution. It wouldn't be under the expenditure.
But when you make an in-kind contribution of signs or products or services, you also have to put it under expenses so that it balances.
Okay, well, this one is photography,
Okay, that's a service.
but he's paying himself for that service.
I guess it goes back to.
Here's a rock.
But with the candidate, and again, it's got nothing to do with Cameron, but.
Well, this one definitely, the Cervantes brothers painted a rock for him, and he was to pay the Cervantes brothers $75.
But, okay, so what if you paid the Cervantes brothers to paint a rock for for a candidate? Would that candidate know who picked? My point is, yes, it was the candidate that made the in-kind donation. And I know for a fact that he did that because he told me that all he did is he spent his own money, and I said, you still have to put that on your form. So I don't care if we ask him.
Well, I mean, here on a contribution by individuals, he's put his name as the contributor,
Right.
and it's an in-kind professional photo. So I don't know how he's taking his own professional photo.
Well,
Wouldn't a
he's-
company be doing that?
Yeah. But
So
he
then
paid
that
for it.
If he needs to list the company, right?
Yeah. Would that
Yeah,
not be?
so-
I mean, he's listing it here as he's contributing,
Mhm.
but then back here, he's paying himself for that same service.
So, the point I'm trying to make is, in the future, forget that it's Cameron, that it's a candidate in general. If it was any other person paying for a goods or services, you would list that as a contribution in kind, and then the candidate would need to list it as an expense in kind. But would the candidate know, can we expect the candidate to know where they bought that service?
Well, I mean, some of them, is-
Some of them, but
I mean, a campaign phone plan, a campaign polo shirt. I mean,
so this goes back to a point I'm gonna make later, is that candidates should have a banking account specifically, and it's in the Indiana
If-
code.
if they're running money through a bank account, yes.
So they, in this case, had he created a bank account, put money in that bank account, paid expenses out of the bank account, we wouldn't have this discussion. So,
Yeah,
I'm
I
perfectly okay.
guess I don't understand the whole terminology of in kind. Cause like this one, he came in and got a walking list from my office. So he's the contributor, he's contributing $5 to the walking list. But then back here, he's paying himself $5 for the walking list. Should that not be that he paid me? Cause he paid me the money. Should that not be the clerk? I mean, he didn't even have to put it on there, but he put it on there, so, but wouldn't that be my office since he paid me the $5?
if his campaign had paid for the expense.
He came in and got it personally.
Did
But his
he,
campaign didn't pay.
did
he-
he take the money out of his pocket and give you the $5 and then went home and got wherever, took the
Yeah,
$5
yeah.
out of the campaign fund, put it back in his pocket?
Okay, so you're saying if he's taking the
What did the receipt say?
receipt said clerk's office.
What did the receipt say from who it was from?
Oh, as in what he was getting it for?
Did it say receipt from Cameron Yates, or did it say receipt from the
I-
campaign, I don't know what his campaign.
Yeah, I don't know what he put at the top, I'd have to look at that sheet to see actually what he put.
It would be you putting that on there as a receipt.
No, he fills out the form and I just put that I received the
So
amount,
he didn't get a receipt for his $5?
yes.
Cause
But
I was
it-
always asked what I was getting it for, is this for the party or is this for me?
I guess maybe we're talking receipts, two different things. The form that they fill out or the printed receipt from the computer.
Both.
Okay, the form that they fill out what who's getting it and what they're using it for. So I would have to look at that receipt, that sheet to see what he put down, cause I don't know what he actually puts down. Cause we don't really look at that necessarily. They're filling out the form and they're requesting it, they're paying us the $5. We put at the bottom that we've accepted the $5.
But you handed out a receipt that said Carroll County Clerk's Office.
Yes,
Receipt
But I-
from, it has to say
Right.
receipt from.
and I don't know what was actually put in there as, what he put on his form. I would have to look at that
I
form.
just think that would be important when you're looking at a receipt or a report. I have nothing in this, okay, I just,
Yeah. So my point is not to say that Cameron shouldn't have to change his report.
I
just wanted to have
to me, that
discussion.
just didn't look right, that
Mhm.
you're paying yourself for other business products.
But
But,
I think if,
but if he
again,
has a separate account, I mean, I don't know what that,
well, he should have. But again, back to the example, if Deb Lowe bought signs for someone else's campaign, that candidate would gladly receive them, but they wouldn't necessarily say, where'd you buy these?
No,
But
it'd be
they-
an in-kind
but
for
it
me.
wouldn't- but
It'd be
it
an
wouldn't-
in-kind for me,
Right,
a contribution.
it wouldn't be from the candidate, an in-kind contribution from the candidate, it would be from the person that bought them.
so when you put the expense for an in-kind donation, it's to balance the sheet. So, I guess the way I view it is you wouldn't necessarily put where, because those campaign, Cameron did pay the expense, the in-kind donation came from Cameron. And I think if it were anyone else but the candidate, it would probably just, we would expect the person, the expense to match the person on the front page. Cause if you just put the company, say Q Graphics, if you just put Q Graphics on the back, you wouldn't know that that matched the donation on the front that says Cameron Yates. And again, I'm trying to do this for the future so that we can know how we should handle those things. So, and I'm okay if you guys want to, cause I've got some other stuff on his, so he's gonna need to redo it anyway, or to amend it, I should say.
Well, I mean, if that makes sense, that it's considered in kind because he's deposited the money into an account.
But I think
If that's the, because these are for Q Graphics and they are all marked direct.
Right.
Which means he's paying them directly, out of his own money, his own pocket, is that?
Yeah, and that
And
leads
these
to
were
the
all,
confusion.
and this was all money that was donated or contributed,
Mhm.
that he's now using that money to support all of these expenditures.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
That's what the
And, I mean,
report appears to
okay.
say,
I mean, I can,
Did you have, we can move on from that unless you wanna have more.
no, that was
I
the
think
only, that was the only thing
We
I
beat that horse to death.
I saw on that was that just didn't, I've never seen a report in the years that I've been in the groups, I've never seen a report where the candidate is paying himself. I've just never seen that, and this many times, so that's why it was, I didn't understand how, yeah, I just didn't understand that, cause he's got it here as someone donating signs
Mhm.
or the stakes for that amount, and then back here, he's paying himself back the amount that this person donated the stakes. So that didn't make sense to me.
And I don't think he was paying himself back, he was trying to document the fact that he bought the stuff himself. But again, you have to show, if you show it as an income, because it was an in-kind donation, you also have to show it as an in-kind expense, so that it balances the sheet. Cause otherwise, you're gonna have a surplus of funds on your balance sheet, which is the summary sheet on the front.
Right.
We're going back to 10th grade accounting here, so, on my part. Okay, did you have anything else on that one? Did you find anything on that one?
No, that's it.
So, Pearson's, he's got it listed on, can I see that real quick? I can't
On
remember.
this one? Oh,
I
sorry.
can't remember that. So Pearson's is a corporation, we've gone through this before with other candidates. Contributions, individuals, contribute, he's got it on the form for contributions by other organizations. Maybe his thought process was anything other than an individual, but B&B Truck, Auto and Truck Center is not incorporated, they're an LLC, so that's correct, it should be on this. But Pearson's is a corporation, it should be on Schedule A2 for corporations. Just, it's on the wrong schedule, so that was a change that needed to be made.
Should be on what?
Should be on Schedule A2. And as far as in-kind donations from an individual, he's got listed Kim Thomas, an in-kind donation. But if you look in the expenses, and this goes back to what we were just talking about. So in the expenditures, he's got that same amount here, but see, it says Cameron Yates instead of Kim. And so it should actually say Kim Thomas, not Cameron Yates. So those are the changes. make a motion that we request the changes discussed, which are, moving Pearson's to Schedule A2, and changing the in-kind expense from his name to the person that actually did, which was Kim, what did I say? Thomas. And then I will even say that he should list out who he paid these, for his in-kind donations. He could put his name, but just what companies it was that he purchased the things
Yeah,
from.
maybe, let me.
He did do some of those though. There's Campaign Rock here, Campaign Phone.
Yeah, he put, you're on,
That's a rock, that's not a company name.
yeah, you're on. You're on contributions. Did you mean,
Expenses.
okay, I thought that's what you said, but then. I mean, he's got listed out what it was for, but,
And not who it was from,
but
or to.
the way I understand, it needs to be who he paid that amount to. Whether he paid it it's who did he pay it to?
But let's go back to Kim Thomas. Do we know who Kim Thomas?
No, but hers would be Kim Thomas, as the
But
what
he
you just
didn't-
stated.
But he didn't pay Kim Thomas. Kim Thomas paid somebody else. It was a donation of a product, and I don't remember what it was, but it's on there.
Yep, steaks.
So Kim Thomas bought steaks,
Yes, so then she would be listed at the back as the one that he,
but my point is,
That
why
you
would
would
it be
in-kind.
any different from Cameron? Cause he made an in-kind donation, just like Kim Thomas did. So if we're gonna expect Kim Thomas to be listed as an expenditure, we should all, and if the candidate buys something and donates to their own campaign, it should be treated the same as if an individual.
But if that says like Kim Thomas bought the steaks,
which is dead up here,
then.
and then she's listed at
That's
the
the way
back
it
for the
should
same
be.
amount.
Right, the amounts match, and so.
Yes,
So-
on that one is, I'm agreeing
I,
with you, that
I
that
will
one is
tell you that
correct.
if, I struggled with that first, cause I thought, okay, wait a minute, where's this Kim Thomas on his expenses? And then I saw the amounts match, and so I thought, oh, okay, these must go together, but we don't know, because he made the mistake of putting his name instead of her name on the expense.
Right,
So that's why I'm saying, if on the first form, contributions, we see that Kim Thomas made a donation, but on the last page for the expenses, or for the expense, it says Q Graphics, we're not necessarily gonna know other than matching that total, and if there are two totals that are the exact same amount, which there are in that number, then we don't know. And so they could put, ideally, they would put the person's name and where they bought things from. But I think our concern is, if someone made an in-kind donation, that it shows that there's an in-kind expense that matches, so that it zeroes out. Because ultimately, that's what we're looking for.
does that clear that up for you?
I think so.
So do you guys wanting to amend it?
I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying, I read that differently as, you can't pay yourself for
Yeah.
you don't do
Yeah.
photography, you don't do
Right.
sign printing, you don't do rock painting.
And ideally,
So that
like I
I
said,
now understand if they're both marked in kind, which means he was either given the product or the money for the product. Is that what you're
Mhm.
saying?
and that's why that in-kind box is on both, so that we can match them.
Okay,
So, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the checking account. Ideally, and I've seen, there was another candidate that I saw made a donation, a loan, I'm sorry, to his campaign back a few years ago. And I always questioned why he made a $2,000 donation to his account. Well, then later I found out, I realized it was so that that $2,000 went into a bank account to pay
Separate.
expenses, and And then he took contributions, and then at the end of his campaign, if there was anything left, he could pay himself back his initial investment for the campaign. That is
Right.
ideal, but that's not what happens most times, and it's not what happened in this case. But because of that, it caused a lot of confusion. So,
Yes, that caused a lot of confusion.
yeah, so,
It's something so simple.
so
Yeah, I
I'll-
mean, it makes sense, but it muddied the water a little bit, since that's not
Right.
how other candidates have done it. But I understand now how you're,
So when he contacted me and he asked what he should do, I said, you have to document those things. You can't just buy stuff for your own campaign and not put them on the report. You have to document that you did.
and that would be why he itemized everything.
Yeah, and he told me, well, I'm
Even under
gonna,
the
I'm gonna-
$100, so,
well, isn't that a maybe I'm using the wrong word. If it was
Cumulative,
$50,
yes.
cumulative,
and
so
since it was all him, yes, he would have had that.
then it was over $100 anyway.
Correct.
So I haven't finished mine.
No, you haven't.
Do you want him to change those items? The name, his name for the company.
I think the one needs to be
That Kim
changed.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
in my opinion, it would be nice to know what the other companies are, if it's somewhere on there, but since that does not necessarily negate, I mean, it's not necessarily a defective report, he's done it correctly, it would just be a preference of ours
For that reason.
for that reason.
Yeah.
So,
So I'll make a motion that we request that he amend his report to change Pearson's to Schedule A2. Excuse me, and change the in-kind expense, that should match, it says Cameron Yates, but it should match the Kim Thomas donation in kind. And of course, I didn't write down the amount, so.
137, oh, 133.74.
It's just a protection.
So that's my motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. And you said you only have that one, right?
Yes.
You don't have anything else? Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, so, I'm just gonna run through these real quick. I didn't see anything, for Jeff Seaver, Julie Price. Didn't see anything. Coincidentally, Gail Connor did it right, the way that she did hers. It was real clear to see what she had done. It looked like she did the same thing, she bought a bunch of stuff herself, but she also showed that it was an expense, so. Pat Stevens was 0. Jordan Stevens, her position is less than 5,000, so she didn't need it. Or no, I'm
No,
sorry,
it's not.
I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Apologize. I think-
someone's working for the clerk treasurer for Camden, they'll make $5,000, I wouldn't be
Her,
running for that.
Her expenses were under the threshold, I'm assuming. It says expenses, not
Oh,
personal contributions.
So, yeah, I mean, she didn't spend the 500, but her position makes more than $5,000, so she had to report it. She could have, I
So
think she
then
did do
neither of the
unitemized,
other two. So,
she itemized it just for clarity, she said.
and Dale, I'm glad you're here.
Huh? It didn't have to be itemized, because she didn't spend, oh, no, it was, because hers is 100, sorry. I'm getting two different numbers, you got 500 for this and 100 for this, so yes, hers was done correctly.
So, I tried to get clarity from the state on this. And you can't get them to give you a straight answer. So, it appears that Dale, that your committee from 2022 is still open. Did you use that committee for 2023? Did it, because we've had this discussion in the past that you don't have to close your committee, you can just reopen, for another candidacy.
I believe I did.
Okay, so the reason I ask is because on your annual report for last year, it shows that there was a balance of $335.76. Then on this report, you show a beginning balance of 0. So if you didn't close that committee and you're using the same committee, that $335.76 should be the
Should
starting
roll.
balance. And I did clarify that much with Michelle. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't understanding it wrong. And so I would just
So
request
what
that.
was that again?
So as a ending balance from this committee in 2022,
Okay, we'll get there.
which would have been like January, I think it said January 2023. Maybe I looked at the wrong thing.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'm on it.
Okay,
Oh,
so
so we
if
were
there's an
now
ending
over.
balance at the end of last year and the committee, the same committee carried over, it should be the beginning balance on the next. Just like the ending balance for the pre-primary should be the beginning balance, or the ending balance should be the beginning balance for the other one, so. And I looked, I think yours was the only one that had a carryover
Yep.
committee, so.
Well, that we reviewed, yes. We have a couple, but they're
Right,
not on
they
the
don't
ballot,
have
so
to-
they don't
correct.
report. Okay, so he needs to add this to the beginning. And then recalculate the numbers. Correct? Is that what you're saying?
Can I see
Getting
this
this?
report again?
Which one?
This, the pre-primary, because I wrote cryptic notes and now I can't understand it. It could have just been the note for myself, but understands. So, also on line 4 of contributions, it looks like you made a loan to yourself of $861.67. And I apologize if I'm not supposed to be directing you personally, but you're
I don't care.
you made a loan of that amount, but it has to, you should, on your summary sheet,
Mhm.
it should be shown as an expense to the committee. Cause the committee still owes you that money.
Well, the expenses, that money was used in the expenses.
So he paid for items, like Cameron.
Okay,
like
I understand what
Cameron
you're
did,
saying,
right?
but I'm just wondering in the math, how that works out. Because technically, that is money owed to the committee, because you didn't make a donation, you made a loan. So yeah, the committee shows it as a donation, and then they show it as an expense, but it should also on that line, because I don't think that affects the, can I say it real quick? 'Cause I don't think that affects the math. If you show it on this line, as debts owed to the committee. Yeah, cause it's after the bottom line. So the bottom line is cash on hand, $120.50, but this should just show that he owes, that the committee owes, not him personally, but the committee owes an expenditure for a loan. It's just so that it carries over from one form to the next, so that when you do, if you do, pay yourself back at the end of this election, that it's showed as a debt all the way through, that can
Okay.
be paid back.
But it's not something that has to be paid, because you don't have to.
No,
It's only if there's money left
you
in
do,
there.
you do at the end,
At the
you
end.
have to,
Can I say something? Shouldn't it just be a contribution? Doesn't have to be a loan.
It
well,
doesn't
but
have
he
to be,
marked it
yeah.
as a loan.
It
Right,
doesn't
I know,
have to be
but
a loan.
I think this is all a learning curve. We
Yeah.
have a lot of new candidates, and I'm wondering if they were told, maybe they could be here today, so you could explain the whole thing to them.
I
Because-
wish every candidate did show up, so
I
that
wish
could
they would
hear
come,
this.
yeah, I
That's
would,
why
But
I
were they
show up,
new?
I show up to learn.
Yeah,
But
and trust me, we're learning as we go as well.
were they
Yeah.
told?
Yeah.
Were they told about this meeting?
they don't have to be at this meeting because it's not financial.
I think her point is just where they made aware that there was going to be a public meeting today on this map, so.
Was it published in the paper?
Well,
Well,
no,
no, this is-
the notice came out after the paper.
What I'm saying
Or before
is,
the
you
paper
have
could be.
new- I mean, I know Dale's been but he's still learning today.
Mhm.
Right,
Spencer, Yates, they're all, I mean, they could have learned something from this today,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't have to go through it again. I mean, you guys are kind of a learning curve committee too.
Right, and that's why I had such a
But
long
they, if they
discussion
did not
about the things
know
earlier.
that this meeting was happening, they won't be here.
In other words, if we had sent them out a letter explaining this is what we're gonna be doing, they're invited to attend.
Yes, we're gonna talk about your campaign finance
Or
report.
an email.
Yeah,
Yeah.
email.
It doesn't have to go all the way through the,
That's a good idea.
I understand that to a point, but it's your responsibility to know when things are happening. I go to the election board meetings, I don't hardly ever miss one, and nobody ever shows up, and those
I-
things are publicized.
I understand that, Dale, but you are here, and the other two are not, that are being, they're talking about their reports, like they talked about your report today. But I'm just saying, I know you do, and that's great that you attend them all. But I think that if you're going to talk about somebody's report, it would help you, and it would help the candidate to know what's going on.
So what's your recommendation?
And I'm not picking.
Are you saying just notify all candidates that this is what we're gonna be doing, or are you saying if we find something in a report, notify that person so we can discuss
So
it?
you can get it over with. You know.
Well, in this
I'm
case,
sorry.
I didn't review the reports until
and we
yesterday.
can't talk, so we, unless we're,
Right, we can't, so,
unless we're notifying everyone.
yeah,
We
so,
Well,
can't
you
just
can
say,
notify
let's-
everybody,
that's
I
right.
would say, you know.
so it's a good recommendation, that it wouldn't be a bad idea that, again, it goes back to
So
making
every
sure that
single,
the,
so I need to notify every single candidate of every single meeting? Is that, because I have an email list.
oh, if you have an email list, I
I
think
mean,
it would be
it's,
simple.
right now it was just special for the ones that needed a filed report. But I can add the others in, I didn't include everyone, because if they weren't filing a report, there wasn't a reason for me to send them an email and say, you have a report due, because that would have just caused confusion.
So, I read our PowerPoint from our meeting back in December, and at the state about the duties of the election board, and it doesn't specifically say that our job is to guide candidates. So, but I think being Carroll County and the type of people that I believe that we all really are, then it's not a bad idea to help guide them. So to notify them that there's meetings via an email that takes just a couple seconds to do, it's not a bad
Personal responsibility plays a role in that too.
idea. Exactly, yep. And we've made that statement as far as the reports go, that, you know, ignorance of the right way to do something is not an excuse, but we also are not gonna fine them for not doing so. They have an opportunity to fix the report, and granted, at that time, they will get the explanation of why it needs to be done this way.
I have a question. If I change that from a loan to a contribution, would that clear that part up?
It would, I just don't know that that's the right way.
If I could show that I contributed, which is what I did, contributed to my own campaign.
Okay. Would there be any objections from the board?
Normally, every candidate donates to their own
Yeah.
campaign.
You have
So
to.
So
I
I
know,
think
You
that's
have
right.
to.
You have to.
Yeah, my only
don't
question
loan it
in the
to
whole thing is,
Yeah,
is that a report's been filed as a loan, and then if someone were to review it, but as long as the board, I'll make a motion that
But
we
if they're,
accept
if
that.
we're here discussing
Right,
it being defective, and he is now stating that maybe he should have marked contribution versus a
Exactly.
loan, is that not considered defective?
so let's put it on the record, I'll make a motion that
well, it
we,
is defective as of right now.
yeah,
Right,
that when Mr. Seward, does his amended report, that if he changes that to a contribution rather than a loan, it fixes that issue.
and this one will always still, I mean, this one will stay in the
this will be-
file.
But I just wanted it on the record. Can I get a second
I'll
on that?
second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay.
Hang on,
So now it's official. You can change it.
I can't
Thank you.
write that back. Okay, so amend loan to donation or contribution.
Contribution from donation. Or loan, I'm sorry.
Loan to contribution, okay. Was that all you had?
That's all I have. So and I didn't have. Okay, so are there anything, is there anything else on?
Are you done with it? I thought you had another one.
No, that was, well, let me look through it again, just to be sure. Oh, the one question I did have, Erin, did she file? Cause I didn't see it.
She did not.
So, the position she's applied, that she's running for is under 5,000.
Yes.
The threshold is if she didn't spend more than $500.
Correct.
So my question is, cause I see her signs running,
I
how
bel-
do we know?
You don't.
So,
I believe that
nothing against Karen,
from
I
what,
just, it
from
brought
what
up the
she
question.
indicated to me, she ordered 20 signs,
Okay,
and then she ordered an additional 20. So I don't know if 40
So what-
signs,
what do they normally run?
the less you get, the more they cost.
Per,
So it depends on where she got them, and if she got, I mean, I don't know. You're going on the candidate's word that she did not spend $500.
Okay,
I mean, I don't think there's any way to,
that was my only question, was
Yeah.
how do we know if,
You don't.
if the
just have to
candidate,
take their word.
you have to
Yeah.
take, yeah,
Obviously,
it's
if-
on them
if they put an ad in the comments, you know it's gonna be over $500. I'm kidding,
depends on how big it is.
so,
Could be.
possibly.
I could get it to be more, yeah.
So that was my only question on that one, it's, I had to read up on the criteria for that.
I would think it was probably pretty close to that mark, because those signs aren't cheap, but,
I bought 100 and it cost me almost $900.
So less than not less than $10 a piece, if you bought that.
So then she would be close.
yeah.
It would be close,
By
but-
the time you buy the stakes, and
Yeah.
it would probably be close.
So she's on the ballot in the fall, she's probably gonna be over that $500 threshold.
If she's, yeah,
Okay.
I would think she would be getting something else at that point,
Probably
and be over. the
all
five.
those candidates, unless
Yeah,
there's no one running against them, will be over that threshold, so we'll address that.
yeah.
So, and I think we had one late form.
Yes, we did not receive Leanne Aldridge. I sent a letter, well, first off, I sent the email for our last conversation.
Okay, so you
That
did have
was-
an email address.
I sent an email to everyone, here is the email, showing that she did receive it, did not get back to
Can I see
me.
it? I just want, was it, it's to a personal email address?